Hello students, this video is on section 2.8, Order of Operations with Fractions. This is our final video for section 2.8. We know the order of operations, and we know now how to do every operation that we need to do with fractions. So all that's left to do with fractions in this chapter is to put those things together. I'll write over here for us to remember and refer to. The order of operations looks like this. And remember what this stands for. P is parentheses. Those get done first. Next come exponents. From there, multiplication and division get done on the same step from left to right. And finally, addition and subtraction get done in the same step from left to right. So we'll go through a few examples, and that's really all we'll do on these. They can get a little bit long and complex, but they're not that difficult. They just take some time and some attention to detail. We want to be careful we don't lose anything. So I have 3 examples for you today, and that'll be all this video covers. And if you have any questions on anything along the way, please let me know during class so we can talk about them. The first example I'll do is completely made up of fractions, and it looks like this. 1/2 minus 3/5 times 4/9 plus 2/3. Okay? And so all there is to do is follow the order of operations. We have no parentheses, we have no exponents, so we look first for multiplication or division. In this case, right here, is multiplication, and that's the only group where we see that. And we know that when we multiply, we do like this when we multiply fractions. Everything else is going to look the same. Okay? I haven't actually completed this yet. I need to still do the multiplication, but what I want to do first is simplify. So there's a 3 in 3, and there's 3 3s in 9. I'm simplifying 3 and 9 by 3. And so here I'll get 1 times 4, which will give me a 4, and in the denominator I'll have 5 times 3, which is 15. Okay, so I've completed this step. It took me a few levels, but that's fine. Everything else is the same. And I no longer have multiplication or division, so I move to the next stage, which is addition and subtraction from left to right. This is first, and this is second. But what I want to do, since it's all addition and subtraction, is find a common denominator for every piece. 2, 15, and 3. And do that off to the side in your own notebook. But what we'll get is 40, we're going to need to get 30 for that. Okay? So I'll rewrite this using equivalent fractions with 30 in the denominator, and then we'll do the subtraction first. So 1/2 with 30 in the denominator, I get that by multiplying by 15, so I must do the top that way as well. 15 times 1 is 15. Now to get 30 from 15, I multiply by 2, and I do the same thing in the top. To get 4 times 2 is 8. And to get 30 from 3, that's not so bad, that's times 10. So the top is times 10 as well. 2 times 10 is 20. So now that I have common denominators, I'll go from left to right. Do the subtraction first. 15 minus 8 is 7 over 30. And then I'm adding 20 over 30. 7 plus 20, that's my final step for solving, and I get 27 over 30, but that can be reduced by 3. So I get, when I divide this by 3, I get 9. When I divide 30 by 3, I get 10. The answer to this order of operations problem is 9/10. As you can see, these problems are longer than the ones we're used to with whole numbers because sometimes a single step takes several moves. But that's okay, as long as, like I said, we are patient and careful, we'll get the right answer. For our second order of operations problem with fractions, we will work this problem. 5 over 6 times, parenthesis 2/3, minus 1/6 to the second power plus 7 over 18. Okay? What I need to do first is what's inside parentheses. But I can't do that yet until we have a common denominator, so I'll really need to do that sub-step first. The common denominator here will be 6. This one's already 6, so it doesn't change. We'll take from 3 to 6, we multiply by 2, so we do the same thing in the top to get 4. Everything else looks the same. So we're still on the same step. 4/6 minus 1/6 is 3/6. Because the exponent's there, I still leave that in parentheses. Everything else comes down. But 3/6 can be reduced to 1/2. And that's good because the smaller the numbers, the better. It's easier to get lost when we're working with really large numbers. So now we can finally do this piece here with the exponent. 1/2 squared is 1 squared over 2 squared. I'm going to rewrite this up top next. And I'll simplify this piece finally. So we have 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. So we have 1/4 where this piece was. So the 5/6 is still in front, and the 7/18 is still at the end. So I've completed my parentheses, I've completed my exponent, I'm on to multiplication and division, which I have that here. Luckily, we don't need to find a common denominator for that, so we'll just go through normally. This is 5 times 1 over 6 times 4, and unfortunately, nothing can reduce, but that's okay. So we get 5 over 24 plus 7 over 18. Now our common factor here is going to be 72. You can find that on your own. But in order to go from 24 to 72, I multiply by 3. So I have to do the same thing to the top to get 15. And to get to 72 from 18, we multiply by 4. So we do the same to the top with the 7 to get 28. 15 plus 28 is 43 over 72, and that's our final answer here. So as you can see, these can take more steps, but they don't have to be overly difficult. We just want to be careful and take our time so we don't miss anything or go too fast and get answers wrong that we should be getting right. The final example I'll do for this video and for this chapter is an order of operations problem that uses both whole numbers and and fractions. And it will look like this. 4 divided by 1/3 to the second plus 2/5 minus 7 times 6. Okay? So we have the first thing we need to do is parentheses. That's completed. So exponent comes next. 1/3 to the second power is 1 to the second over 3 to the second. And everything else comes down. Oops. Let me check. I don't think that's a 6 there. Nope, I wrote it wrong. It is a 3. Okay. So everything else stays the same. My apologies. So that was our first bit. So we'll clean this up by doing 1 squared is 1. 3 squared is 9. Everything else stays the same. Now, what comes next is multiplication and division from left to right. Since they're not anywhere near each other, we can do them both in the same step. So I'll be doing this division and this multiplication together. This is really the same as 4 over 1. So this is 4 over 1 times, remember, to divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. And here we're going to get 36 over 1. That's nice because anything over 1 is that same thing. We don't actually need to write that over 1. So I'll take it away in the next step. And this one here, 7 times 3 is 21. Okay? So up here, to finish this problem off, I have 36 plus 2/5 minus 21. We've finished multiplication and division. We're on to addition and subtraction. Hopefully you remember that a whole number plus a fraction is simply a mixed number. So 36 plus 2/5 is 36 and 2/5. Our last step is to subtract 21. And since that's a whole number, we take it away from the whole number. And the 2/5 is still intact. 6 minus 1 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. And that is our final answer. If you have any questions about any of these examples, please feel free to ask in class. This is the last bit of the chapter, and we really want to make sure that you're doing everything as well as you can.